Welcome back to this episode of Maximum Octane. We are live from our ATI Super Conference at the Waikoloa Villages Resort, the Hilton property here in Hawaii, and we are just having a blast. And
We are.
joining me, my colleague and co-host, Mr. Jason Patel, and over to my left, I had to think about that for a minute. My left, Mr. Connor Tracy, who is a director of partner development over at Kikui. So, funny thing, this is like your Super Bowl with us, right?
It really, it's the most dramatic long play that we've had with swag that's ever been created. So it's like shirts that are 4 years in the work and beads that are like 15. And now it all makes sense, right?
How many years has Kikui been open now?
About 15 years.
15 years. Yeah. And so in the beginning, when we met them and started partnering with them, they had these Kikui beads and everybody's like, what is that? And so they had to explain to us. And it's been your trademark and your branding all this time. Yep. And then, the Hawaiian shirts and all. And so this is literally like your Super Bowl to come and
now we're not the weirdos.
And yeah, so you're kind of blending in. So
we really do. Like I'm in the airport wearing Kikui beads and normally like everyone's like, yeah. And I'm like there and there's like, okay. I'm like, no, look, come on. And they're like, a whole wall of them. Yeah. We give these away at McDonald's here.
Wow. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody's dressed like you. Usually your booth, you do a wonderful job with branding and it just stands out wherever they're at, whatever event.
Definitely.
And so I was wondering how that would be here when you're like everybody here.
In the environment. It just feels fun though. Cause like we have, we hold on to our Hawaiian roots. The company was started in Hawaii. So there's a lot of like cultural things that we do. So it's funny. It feels very familiar for us being here. So
there we go.
We're really enjoying it.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're happy to have you here today. And you're a very valued partner of ATI for years and helped many of our members and all of those good things. And
Absolutely.
I know you're here doing a roundtable for us.
I am.
And you have a topic that everyone should be paying attention to.
Absolutely.
Share what that is.
Yeah. So we're basically sharing the power of delegation. And really how to leverage delegating tasks to create better engagement with your team. Typically when you think about delegation, people think about, kind of transplanting tasks and things like that. But there's a lot of power in being able to properly delegate to create higher levels of engagement through being involved in the business. So a lot of it stemmed on a random airport conversation with Mike Bennett and I talking about the IKEA method, which happens very much when you hang out with Mike Bennett in airports and trade show floors and stuff. And it kind of expanded from there. So it's great. We talk a lot about how when I was running shops that I failed to do that. We get a little personal in this one, so it's kind of cool.
Good. Well, we're going to get into that. We're going to kind of hopefully share with our viewers some of it. But let's start with the word delegation.
Oh man.
It's almost like a dirty word to most business owners, delegation. And for every time I say something about the need for delegation, delegating anything, I would say 99.5% of the time, I get the business owner, shop owners, or any business I'm speaking to say, I wish I could, but they can't do it as well as I do.
My goodness. I'm glad you brought that up. You brought up 99% of the time, right? So this is one of the things where shop owners, for most shop owners, we're going to generalize here.
Yeah.
They started from the ground up in a sense, right? So they were the service writer. They were the technician in most cases. Then they also, they didn't do marketing. Let's put it that way. But they were the marketer.
They're the AR person. They're an HR person. They're everything.
Right. Swiss Army knife humans, as I like to call my tribe. I was that guy. So that explains exactly me. So
right. So they have that, I've learned this. I've gotten this good at it. And I see, a lot of times the delegation aspect comes into play where they won't delegate unless that person is better than them. And then now this also becomes a challenge because they don't recognize that person is better than them. So what do you, because you've been in that.
Or they don't train them to be better than them.
Exactly. Yeah. So you've kind of been in that scenario for a little while.
Failed at it miserably for a long time.
What was one of the biggest things that was the hardest so what was the last thing that you delegated?
The last thing that I delegated was, really actually handling and reconciling my parts bills.
Okay.
And that was a huge thing for me that took a ton of time. And then I was also dragging the sled of like, why didn't you get that core return? Why didn't you get that part returned? The parts guy was here. It's been sitting here for 4 days. So then when, we go through the bills and it's like, now I see why it matters. So that was the last thing at the shop that I did. The first thing that I did was actually having them start to run their own huddles.
Oh,
Because
okay.
morning huddles were like, boss is talking, it's early, I hate this. Hey, how's everybody doing? I'm not saying a word. Screw you, pal. And then that was the first thing. I turned it over to them and said, this is your meeting. You're here early. Like, go. And then after that, it was like, they would let me have. And they like got more done in those than anything else we did. So that was huge.
So the first thing was the huddles.
First thing was huddles.
Did you have a specific person that you put in charge? Because there still has to be some kind of structure here.
Yeah.
So how did you delegate that?
The guy that complained the most.
Okay, there you go.
I was like, hey, you got a lot to say. I just sat him down and said, hey, you got a lot to say. Like every time we talk, you're the one who's chiming in. Everyone has that guy. They always have that guy. And I said, hey, you've got a lot to say. I want you to kind of guide this. This isn't going to be you telling everybody. I want you to make sure you're engaging your teammates, but let's see what happens. Like, this isn't going to shut the business down if you run a huddle. Like, but that's the fear, right?
Yeah.
It's like if I let go of this death grip, but we grow up in it, and that's what happened with me. I mean, I started managing my first shop. I was like 20 years old. What did I know? So, and that's how just like you said, most people grow up that way, right? They add a task and then they get very convinced I'm the best at this task. And that's why most people are shop owners now, right? I can do this better than the guy I'm working for. So I'm going to buy him out, or I'm going to go do my own thing. We're a very unique industry. We're one of the few industries that's predominantly owned and ran by folks that come from the ground level. Downside is we don't have a lot of professional training coming into this industry, which is, the beautiful value that ATI provides. But
I'm laughing for a minute because you said when I was only 20, what did I know? And I was much smarter between 16 and 20 than I am now.
Day one, I knew everything.
I knew everything.
Don't get me wrong.
So I knew everything then. 16 to 20, I was Einstein and Elon Musk. They had nothing on me. I don't know what happened to all that knowledge over the years, but somehow. So was there a catalyst? Because what I see all the time with everything, whether it's a DVI process, whether it's, clean up your tool room, whatever it is, I got to hire somebody to start building a bench. There's a catalyst of what happened. And I don't know why we need that in this industry to instead of being proactive, we have something that triggers. Like, there's never been a time that anyone I've ever talked to that went to the doctor and they come back and say, my blood pressure's perfect, my cholesterol's perfect, my height to weight ratio is perfect. I better start exercising and eating better to maintain that. I hear from all my friends, oh my God, I got to stop eating meat, my cholesterol or eggs or whatever.
Right.
There's no ever of, boy, everything's great. I want to continue on this.
No, I mean, I had that. I mean, and we actually go through it. There's pictorial evidence of me having that catalyst. I was in a situation where very big, it was a big box shop, a lot of volume. We were plus $4 million a year out of 10 base. So we were busy. But every moment I was working 80 plus hours a week, and every moment I was away from the shop, the wheels fell off. I was hiring great people. I was finding great people. I was training them well. But everyone was checked out, and then they would go find other jobs, and I couldn't figure it out. And 1 year, my oldest son, it was his junior year. I was told by my beautiful wife, who's actually here this week, hey, it's homecoming. You need to be there for homecoming pictures. I don't care what you've got to do, but you're not going to be at the shop. You're going to be there for homecoming pictures. And as we pulled up to take homecoming pictures, I get a call from the shop that we not only had caught a vehicle on fire, when removing the on fire vehicle, rather than just putting it out, remove the still on fire Molotov cocktail of an automobile, we then backed it into another customer's vehicle, creating a whole swirling world of chaos. So I had to leave. And when I got home that night, and there's pictures of me not in those homecoming pictures, my wife looked at me and she goes, this is never going to happen again. I don't care what you have to do or change, but this can't happen again. He doesn't have another one of these homecomings to do. So fix it. So I had to dig
I'm
deep.
not crying. Are you crying?
So yeah, I mean, so it's that was my catalyst. And I was miserable because I was white knuckling every day. Couldn't figure out, like, I felt like I was dragging the sled through the mud every single day. And the answer was that it was me. I reached out to a peer that, had ran a very successful business, and he was two peers. One was outside of our industries and from the restaurant world, and the other one was just a very successful shop owner. And both of them were like, "Dude, it's you. Hands down, it's you. It's not your people. It's not anyone else. It's you."
That's hard to take,
Yeah.
that honesty,
Yeah.
that moment of honesty.
Well, because ego got us to where we were, right? It's that ego of, yeah, I can do this better. I need to be in this position, or, I'm the boss. It's ego driven. So to have that check was like, okay, but like I was at that rock bottom. I didn't have a choice. So it was like ego goes away because the stakes weren't for me. If I was on my own, I'd run it into the ground. It wouldn't matter. But like everybody, it was the eye opener that there was a lot more riding on this than just me. It was a family, and it was also all the families of everyone that relied on me as operating that business.
So I'm sure you first, when both of these mentors or people you went to said it's you, were you resistant at first of, hey, what are you talking about? You're
I think
crazy?
I was so beaten down at that point. I just needed some help, and I was like, okay. I was just like yeah, okay. Uh, what do I got to do? And they're like, dude, let's empower them. You got to get them engaged. You can't do everything and then be mad when they're not doing it. You're not letting them do anything. So I was like, okay, all right, what do we do? And my buddy that, he owns 6 really successful restaurants. He was like, daily huddles, but have him do it. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing huddles. He's like, no, you're not. You're doing huddles. You're once again putting yourself in a place to tell everybody in the room how smart you are and what they should be doing. They know what they should be doing, or they don't belong working for you. Have them run it. Have them talk about what they want to talk about, what means to them. Have them get meeting notes, but don't even be there. I'm like, what do you mean don't even be there? He's like, don't be there. Because if you're there, then there's still your meeting. Don't be there. I'm like, okay, it worked.
So this brings up a very good point, right? And you mentioned catalyst before. What was catalyst to get you kind of start delegating? Now, we don't want you out there, the shop owner, to get to that level or
Wait for a
worse.
catalyst. Don't make me cry, people.
We don't need to have a catalyst of that sort, right? The catalyst is already there. If you are doing things that you don't want to be doing, in a sense, the catalyst is there. So this is one thing that I like to do whenever I have a new member that I'm talking to, or somebody that, even just random people I'm meeting on the street, right? What do you want to do? So whenever you're introduced to somebody, it's always like, what do you do? Right? It's not how are you or what are you doing or anything like that. It's what do you do, as in like your profession or whatever.
Sure.
And I like to like take that away from that kind of perspective, and what do you want to be doing in your life?
Right.
And for shop owners, for some, it is, I want to be working on cars. Awesome, right? But how often are you actually doing that? Because you've got all this other stuff piling on and you keep bringing it on. So we're the happiest when we're doing things that we want to be doing. And if we're happy, it rubs off on everybody around us. So,
That happen all the time. I mean, when people miss meetings, when we have clients that are missing their client meetings with their rep, I mean, they pay us a fair amount of money to have us work with them. I'm sure that happens when you guys are trying to meet with, well, I don't have time. My question for them is, well, why not? Well, what do you mean? It's busy. Okay. But you're the business owner. Like, if you don't have time, that means that the balance of shared responsibility inside of this building is not there. Because this is very important. Your marketing, in my instance, your marketing is critically important to generating the work within your business that you need to survive. So what is it else that you're doing that's taking away from this very critical aspect? Is it that you're holding the counter down, or you're helping the guy do a diag? Okay, is there a better resource that you could have that's not you, so you could do this? Or is it just that it's time management or whatever it is? But it's typically that transfer of tasks, because we're technicians, right? I mean, I started working on cars when I was 12 years old. So we're task driven, right? You go through diagnostic steps. That's the way our brains work, right? generally an ADD addled people. So when we veer off of test this step, when we veer off there, that's where we go off into the weeds. And that feels scary because now I'm not focused on getting there. So I'm a huge proponent of like set appointments for yourself. When I talk shop owners, do you have a calendar that you can access in your phone that sends you reminders all the time? Well, no, I've got this big, okay, the paper thing on your desk can't send you a reminder. You're going to forget. I know you're going to forget. You know you're going to forget.
And if you're not in front of the paper thing on your desk and you're somewhere else, you overbook. One of the things that I ask our members all the time when they miss a meeting or they couldn't get it, they're like, I couldn't do it. It's like, what did you choose to do instead?
Right.
And they're like, what? I didn't choose anything. The parts guy and this guy and the whatever. So then I'm like, oh, so you're a victim. Okay. You don't have any control over anything,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
people don't realize it's still a choice. If you allow yourself to get sucked into whatever, or you don't show up for me because you got pulled away, it's still a choice. And sometimes maybe it is the right choice. I'm not debating that, but it is a choice and we forget that. And all of a sudden are in this victim role of all of these things are happening to me. And it's like you're never going to get out when you keep thinking like that. But you're just powerless in the world and all these things are happening all day long and you don't have a choice and you can't make a choice.
And we don't realize how exhausted we're making ourselves by doing it. It's that constant level of anxiety of just chasing these rabbits everywhere that we don't realize we're not giving ourselves the opportunity to think, to take in what's actually around us, what's going on, what's important. We're not able to measure and weigh the things that are, just like you said, a choice, because you're just, because that's where we came from, is task driven, right? There's certain steps you have to go to repair a vehicle, and that's where our brains tend to default to. But that's like the appointment setting thing is huge, right? If I know that every second or every 2 weeks on Tuesday at 2:00, I sit down and I look at, my shop management system, my marketing, to understand where we're at as a business. If I do that every other Tuesday, well, guess what? If I miss one for some reason, I'm going to feel it. It'll take a couple months, but I'm going to feel it. Like most shop owners, if you ask them if they have an alarm to like wake up and get to the shop in the morning, they're going to tell you no. They know when to be up because that's when the shop opens, right? They know when to be there. You get that muscle memory, and it's those setting appointments with yourself, and it's holding yourself, and really it's holding yourself accountable. I think shop owners do a good job at holding themselves accountable to themselves, but what we struggle with is holding ourselves accountable to the people around us. And it's just so critical because whether we want to admit it or not, that's a huge barrier for us when it comes to development of the next generation, whether that's from a technician standpoint or from a professional rank standpoint. The more that we hold on and clutch all of this knowledge, none of us would be in these positions if somebody didn't share it with us. The more we hold on and clutch onto that and don't bring everyone else into the fold, the more we're holding that next generation back, which is coming quicker, is not coming as quick as we need them to be honest with you.
I just had a conversation with somebody and it kind of ties in, even though it's more of a personal level, but their grandmother was from another country and had stories, the culture and the growing up and recipes and all. And everybody kept saying, I'm going to get to it. We're going to sit and write down. Well, sadly, their grandmother passed away. And so all of this knowledge is gone. All of the knowledge about the family, the other country, why the family is the way it is, it's all gone because they didn't get the information, you know what I mean? And learn and ask and document it and do all of that. And that's really kind of what we're doing in the shops, right? Is we're holding this all in. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's asking. We're not telling. And so then what happens? Where does that knowledge go? Where does that happen? So you started with huddles. I'm sure that was a little bit in the beginning, a little like, what the heck are we doing? And then they embraced it and loved it.
Yeah.
So what did you learn just from that experience when that started working?
So then I used that to kind of move the needle, like where we would want to change a procedure or have policy change. It was like pushing a wet rope up a hill half the time, right? Because people weren't engaged. So we're like, it's just another, But I was like, all right, well, so what we're going to do is your topic for today in your huddle is I want you guys to talk about this. Okay. Figure out how we're going to do this. And then I want you to report back to me. Now it's not me telling you how we're going to do this. Now you're telling me how you think we can do this. Let's talk.
That's brilliant. So you use the huddle to introduce
Yeah.
ownership and on the other stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to play the devil's advocate here.
Sure.
Where did we have, because you obviously had to delegate a decent amount of stuff before you were able to kind of step away in a sense.
Yeah.
Give me an example of where the delegation failed.
I mean, like at one point I tried to delegate like doing social media posts, and those just kind of didn't hit the mark. Like I picked my service manager to handle returns and, you know, reconciling statements and stuff like that. That turned into a bit of a mess. But
So why did it fail?
I didn't give enough support. I didn't give them enough information on how to do it properly. So then we just had to revisit.
And how did you originally learn to do that task yourself?
I learned how to do it like wrong, basically.
Okay.
I just figured out like this is how I made it happen, right?
Understood.
Because there was nobody to teach me, right? So I'm like, well, this is how I do this, and they were like, okay. And then it's like doesn't make any sense, you know? I'm like, well, yeah, the number's never going to meet up on the bottom of this statement, but like if you just, and they're like, what are you talking about, dude? Like if 1 + 2 = 7.5, like I can't do
Something's
this.
wrong.
Exactly. So, and it was just about the backwards country ways we figure out how to do things to make it work. That's where, so one of the biggest pieces I talk about is like lean into your resources, right? If you're going to delegate a marketing task, have them get with, you know, the reps that you have, introduce them. If you're going to, you know, have them sit in on a training class with your shop management system, you know, give them the resources that they need is really important, but then let them run, you know, but make sure that the resources were there. And if you don't have the resource, find it. Like that's the work you need to do that'll reap the benefit. That's where our time and energy can be placed is to be able to provide better resources, not to do the work for them.
So I want to kind of make a statement here that most shop owners, or any business owner for that matter, thinks that they are doing better than they actually are.
Correct.
So with no matter what task you're doing, whether you're a shop owner that's working on cars, you think you're doing better than potentially the other techs that work for you, but you're not. And same thing goes with every other aspect, no matter if you are the best at it. Now, the reason I say this is because the time gets split up, right? So usually you just don't have that focus on that one aspect.
Right.
Now, when you're delegating a task, and you have this process outlined and whatnot, let's say you did the whole process, these are the resources you use and all of this stuff. You made a very good point that the owner usually makes it work. So 1 + 2 does equal 7.
Right.
Somehow it
Right.
works.
Or it doesn't, and they just have no idea.
They made it
And that's
work
generally probably the case.
Exactly.
Right?
But the person that you're delegating to, there's no way that they're going to let that fly because they
Right.
have to report to the owner.
Now you have reverse accountability.
So at the end of the day, you know, all the owners are just scared of giving up that responsibility because they think it's not going to get done right. Chances are you probably weren't doing it right to begin with.
They're going to do it better.
They're going to do it better. And if they're not, you're going to figure out what you were doing wrong this whole time.
Right.
So it's the hardest thing that a business owner has to do really is first buy the business or start the business. After that, everything else is cake just because there's so many resources out there that are professionals in that specific field.
Right.
So once, and most of the shops that we see come into the ATI program, maybe they are struggling financially. But a lot of those struggles, like you said, kind of fixes itself with
Self-inflicted wounds.
marketing. But marketing kind of fixes there's not a lot of things that car count can't fix.
Right.
But it's what you do with the cars that really make the difference.
As long as they're finding the right kind of work.
Of course.
That's a big problem that we do see when they're busy. It's like, yeah, I'm really busy. I mean, we've developed an entire live scheduling tool because we had so many oh, I'm busy. I'm booking 2 weeks out. I'm like, my bullshit meter goes up. I'm like, are you? So if I needed a brake job tomorrow,
But we'll get you in.
you can't get, I can get you in. So you're not busy 2 weeks out. You're busy on engine work and transmission for 2 weeks. I'm sorry, what was the GP that you're making on that? Was it maybe 35%? So are you really doing the work you want, need? Are you doing the work that makes you feel good? Because you like being the guy that doesn't turn a car away, but you just spent 4 days chasing some sensor down. When, by the way, though, we could have done 3 more brake jobs. So absolutely. We hate to think that it's ego, but at its core,
It is.
Oh,
It's
it's,
ego.
it's huge.
ego.
But as they grow, and I'll speak for myself, was that young guy that had my entire staff was 10 plus years older than me, is that fear of not having the answer, being attacked. I don't want to tell you I don't know. How many times at we see shops that'll keep a card for a week and instead of just going, you know what? We don't have the answer. And that's okay. Here's, a shop down the road or at the dealer. It's okay. The fear of the unknown, the fear of saying, I don't know is we're afraid to do that. And especially we don't want to show that to our teams, because if I don't know, how are they going to be confident that I'm going to make sure that they have a paycheck? Because if I don't know this, then what else don't I know? And then this slippery slope, but it's okay. We're human. It's fine. Like shop owners that are like, yeah, I don't want to have a 1-star review show up. It's like, why? Okay, are all of them going to be that? Then that's your problem. But if it's one of them, then we can really show exactly that things are okay. How you handle that is different, but like it's okay. We're not perfect. And if you put on the air of infallibility, then people find that to be disingenuous. It's not real. Nobody's infallible. So when we can show our vulnerability and show, hey, okay, yep, all right, but here's how we do it, people are going to be more engaged with that, and that translates across to anything, really. So
I love that. When ATI has the 24 fundamentals, which you probably know
I do.
that we live by, and kind of use that as a filter,
right.
Through all of our decision making and things. And one of them is check the ego at the door. And it's so important. And your ego is what protects you. Can be a cruel world out there. And that's like your armor. And so it's so hard for people to be like, okay, I'm going to remove my armor and just go ahead and shoot at me. Right. And so it's like a psychological armor that we build up to protect ourselves.
Because we're in the bad news industry.
Right.
We're literally telling people
Yeah.
their second largest investment, for most of them, if it's not their largest, is broken, and especially in the economy that we've been working under the last few years, like this expense is probably very uncomfortable for them. So we build these armor, right? We go into these conversations protecting ourselves, and that I think translates on into what we do. That's why we have these knee jerks and these kind of defensive natures.
And there's a difference. So I want to make sure everybody understands there's a difference between being confident and having too much ego. And you can be confident and you can know that you're good at something or have, confidence in your skill, but you can't ever allow that to make yourself bulletproof of, I don't ever have to look at that because I am, so confident in that, because then that's, overinflated ego. But I want to make sure everybody understands there's a difference.
What can make a
Confidence
business
is
owner
great.
look better than somebody that they've brought into the business outperforming them?
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say it, but I mean, that's brilliant, right? I mean, how often do we still see people that come back for one last ride through ATI that have just sold their shop, right? And that beaming that they have when they see the new owner of that business come through.
Absolutely.
There's no better ride. And once I was able to flip the script, like some of those folks have gone out and outperformed me. I mean, I'm business partners with my former master tech in another business venture, and he's a brilliant entrepreneur, and I hired his goofy ass out of college as a tech for me. And he's just grown into a brilliant business person, and to be able to help plant the seeds of that is incredible. That gratification is even better, to be able to not be there for 80 hours to go fishing, at the end of the day, if you're there every hour of the day and it's your soul, everything, you're not going to be the engaged, personable, the person that everybody needs you to be. It's just, this industry is too gnarly to do that. If you're spending all of your time white-knuckling inside of it, like, it's going to beat you down. And
we have to take care of you first. I mean, even the airplanes or paramedics or anything else, it's put your own mask on first and then help others. And paramedics, they have to make sure and ensure their safety, because if they get hurt, they can't help somebody else.
My wife's an RN, and that's a big thing for them, is like giving them the time if they need to take a mental health day. Like, she works in a department where they work with like critical care patients. So their patients are in really tough shape and they're with them for a while and sometimes, and they do a lot to make sure that like, that they're good, because that's where like errors happen. And like, if they have an error happen, like,
Yeah. There's
yeah, bad stuff happens.
Yeah.
But,
So you started with delegation,
Yeah.
and in the beginning of this, you said how delegation can lead to better engagement and
Yeah.
better culture. Connect the dots for us.
it creates a buy-in, because now I have ownership in this piece of the business. So one of the big things we talk about in the class is sharing with them the impact that them taking on this piece of the business is going to create in the business. I think you're going to do this better than me, and here's why. Also, here's where I'm going to be reallocating my time and why I think this is going to help us. I had to miss my ATI meeting this month because I was doing this. If I can work better with ATI, then I can grow us here, and the business is going to become more profitable, or it's going to grow. So here's what I'm going to do with reallocating my effort. That way it's not, I'm just passing the buck. And here's why I think you're going to outperform me, and here's how we're going to measure that. So it's kind of a twofold. It's helping them understand where I'm going to be moving my time. It's not just because I want to go hit golf balls, right?
But you could if you want.
That might be, but also, hey, here's why I need to hit golf balls. Like, we're all here to do this job so that we can have a life. And I want you to have a life, and I want me to have a life. And all of us are going to have a really great life working together, right? So here's the why. We teach the why, the old Simon Sinek, right? Let's teach the why first, but here's also what I think the results are going to be at the end. I'm going to have some time off, so I'm going to be more engaged. I'm going to be able to be a better boss, business owner, whatever it's going to be. And I think with this task, you're going to outperform me, and here's why. We talk a lot about it with social media posting, you know? When I talk to shops and they're like, yeah, I'm paying this. I'm like, you're paying somebody to do social media? Like, okay, who's the person on your shop that you have to tell to put their phone away all the time?
There we go.
There you go. They're like, I don't have anybody. Yes, you do.
You just
It's
don't know about
that
it.
person. Yeah, because they won't accept your friend requests on Instagram, okay? There's a reason why, because they're posting crap about you. Well, guess what? They can post stuff about your business.
Exactly.
So they're there. They're all there. You know, we want to convince ourselves that we have this unique unicorn in the world, but there's human dynamics are human dynamics. They're universal. So
The unicorn is you. That's really what it is.
well,
Yeah.
we have unicorn hair.
Well,
Yes,
besides that, we've got butterflies today too.
we do.
But regardless, right? I think to bring all of this kind of full circle, is, what you guys said about you know less now than you did when you were 16 to 20.
Oh yeah,
I remember that like it was yesterday, and I kind of struggled with
it
this.
was yesterday.
I kind of struggle with this a lot with the whole ego side of things, right? Confidence and ego. Because I started my business super young. I mean, my first business was when I was 12. Right. So I've just kind of grown into that. I've taught myself everything that I've known. I've never had any kind of formal training. And I always thought that I knew pretty much everything there is to know. And I practiced it. So it made it even kind of solidified that until I started stepping out. Right. So especially once I joined ATI, right? So as a coach, I had to put a lot of stuff. I had to delegate. That was my catalyst, was joining ATI. So I had to delegate a lot of the tasks. And unfortunately, some of the stuff failed. And it was not the person that got delegated to. The problem was me, because I knew how I wanted it done. I did not clarify what the end result was, which what you just spoke about was you have to show the why. You have to show them what we're looking to do. Right. So they have to know what the result needs to look like. If they don't know what the result looks like, we're not going to get there.
Measurement and benchmarks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with all of this kind of coming full circle, the delegation for any business owner, any shop owner, even a manager that's trying to, move up, they need to be able to delegate certain tasks. The hardest part is just making sure you have the resources that they need, because they're going to use them better.
Make them tangible. Don't assign my kid's favorite word, which is feelings. I want it to feel like it's doing this. Make it measurable. Okay. So if it's social media posts, okay, let's get 3 posts out a week. I want to see at least some likes and shares. Let's see if we can get to 2 shares a week, or whatever it's going to be. Make it measurable. Just don't make it. I feel like it's working.
You have to quantify, and that's a great point, because so often we put things, or we set expectations, but with their feelings, we want to improve this, we want to turn this around. Well, what number are you looking for? What, how much engagement?
I hear it all the time.
And people are, I'm going to use something crazy like smile. He never smile. You know, he needs to smile more. Okay, well, how many times? I don't know. I don't count how many. Well, on a scale, you know,
Do it.
but you have
Count their smiles. It sounds funny, but do it.
yeah, or on the very least, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 5, how many times a day are they, you know, would you rate them for smiling? You know what I mean? So that there's some sort of a way to quantify it, because we set expectations and we say we want things like this and we want you to do it our way and we want you to whatever, but we don't quantify those things. So we're setting everybody up for failure.
You know how to fix the smile thing? Actually, I had a buddy do this. He had a guy that was just super grumpy. He's like, all right, every time I catch you smiling, I'm going to put $1 into this jar. And then we are going to, as a team, use whatever's in there. And we're going to buy at lunch once a month with
Oh, that's
whatever in
awesome.
there.
That's great.
So you want to bet that everybody there was like, smile, bro. So this dude was walking around looking like the Joker, and they were eating like kings. So it's pretty fun.
I love it. That's awesome. What a way to think about that.
Yeah.
So we got to stop using the F word, really.
Yeah, we have to. Like, so, I mean, we run into it with Google. I think we're always going to use that other F word in the shop. That's how we fix cars. They listen.
They do.
But like Google Ads is a great example. You'd be sure. I mean, I talk to people all the time. Yeah, are you using Google? Yeah. How's it working? I feel like it's making fun. Excuse me?
Yeah,
You are
like the
paying.
phone
You are
thing.
paying a direct amount of money to a search engine to drive search results. Like, how do you measure it? Well, I mean, I feel like it's making the. Excuse me. Right. What is the ROI it's getting you? Well, my provider says I'm getting clicks. Okay. I can't deposit a click or an impression. So, like, what kind of revenue is it getting you? Well, I don't know. So you have a one-way transaction that's happening. Good plan. Last time I checked, that's a bad way to go.
We
Like,
can just light the money on fire.
yeah, we'll just push. And it's never a little bit of money. Every one of the shoppers like, yeah, I've spent like $1,500 a month on Google Ads. I'm like,
ridiculous.
what? And no tangible way to understand where it's coming back in. So but it happens. It happens a lot. It happens to our shop owners. It's like, hey, where's that at? And they're like, well, it feels like no. Like it's in black and white. What's your login and password? Let's go look at this together. It's in there. Here's the thing: is there's nothing within our industry that hasn't been broken 2 million times. It hasn't been fixed. It hasn't been measured, learned, evaluated by brilliant people, way more brilliant than any of us are going to be. Those resources are there better than they ever have, because we've got the power of all human history sitting in our pocket.
Yeah.
And when we talk about engaging younger generations, like, that's where I see a lot of older, shop owners struggling with younger techs. It's like, listen, that person has access to more knowledge than you had in the first 40 years of your life within 3 minutes. And they don't even have to type anymore. They can just yell at a search engine.
We don't have to yell anymore. We just look at it now.
Right. And it's probably listening to our conversation, going to give you 3 ads tomorrow.
I know.
I'm going to get a Kikui ad as soon as we leave here.
100%. As long as the marketing team's doing their job.
Yeah, what ads I'm going to be getting out of this conversation. Well, this was quite delightful, and I know that your roundtable is going to be a home run.
It's going to be fun.
Our members are going to be able to.
I want to see
get
that
a lot
pictorial
out of
evidence. So I got to.
They're just going to be, you're talking about the tearjerker. I have to struggle with it because now that kid just told us he's going to be proposing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. We're bringing another one into the tribe. So, yeah. So
there we go.
Which means I'm getting old. But it's all right.
That's awesome.
Seasoned, right?
So you're not going to miss that, right?
No.
Okay.
He's fully delegated now.
No. I don't miss anything anymore. I don't miss anything.
Awesome. All right.
Anybody that follows me on Facebook knows I don't miss swim meets or cheer competitions or anything, because they're like, dude, yeah, we get it. Your kid is a swimmer. we get it.
I was shocked when you posted your anniversary and how long you were married, because neither of you look old enough to be married.
Well, we weren't. So
that long. So I was like,
we were 22 and all right, well, I guess this is it. So yeah, last week, 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's here somewhere. So
Congratulations.
yeah, stoked to have her along.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah,
Especially in today's world.
She's keeping me, at least for now.
Lucky you.
I've had to learn how to behave. I learned to delegate, right?
There we go.
Yeah.
Probably not that great to do at home in the marriage, the delegation thing.
No.
No, you do delegate, right? If we have a list of chores that need to be done in the house, hey, you got to fix the door jamb. Perfect. Call a handyman. There we go. We delegate.
Yeah, you got to call a handyman. I'm used to be a tech dude.
I know.
I'm not calling
All right,
I don't
anybody.
know anybody.
This will be another episode.
Right,
What
right.
what to delegate and what not to delegate in your personal life. Well,
Absolutely.
everybody, thanks for joining us
Thank you.
today and for this episode. And stay safe and make good choices. And thank you so much again
appreciate
for
you having
joining
me.
us. And all of the information will be down in the comments for Kikui and their website, and Connor if you want to get in touch with them. So we thank you, and we thank you for your valued partnership with us.
And we love ATI. Thank you for your partnership as
Good.
well.
And
Thank you so much.
Jason.